Hey, welcome to Graphic Policy Television, GPTV. I'm Brett, and my hands is Radical, My Year with a Socialist Senator. It came out last week, and it is fantastic. I think this is going to be definitely one of the graphic novels going to be up for tons of awards when it comes to the end of the year. Would not be shocked if this is going to get a lot of national recognition. It's just really, really well done, and I think if you really want to understand politics, this is a fantastic graphic novel to go and dive in. So this is by Sofia Warren. I guess embedded would be kind of a good way of describing it, with herself, with the first-year senator, Julia Salazar, who represents, I think it's the Bushwick area. I'm not an expert in New York City. I'm from Western New York. So if I get that wrong, I apologize. But it's a really, really interesting graphic novel, at least for me. And it comes down to is because reading this, like, I saw a lot of my experience in politics reading this. So I myself started off in politics in Buffalo. We've worked in politics for 20 years or so. And it's really interesting to read about other people's experiences and their thoughts, perspectives, expectations going into the business and going into public service. And the thing I think that is intriguing to me about the graphic novel is it captures it all. It captures the hope, the inspiration, the want of doing good and positive, the frustrations, the exacerbation, the how easy you can get angered. It's just the emotional wreck you become, and then eventually the burnout. It is a rough business. It is a rough industry, and it's definitely not for the wary. It's an interesting read. So Sophia basically gets to know all the staff members and the state senator. She goes in and describes the process. And the graphic novel is really interesting, is that it focuses on kind of like the key issue that Salazar ran on. She was very focused on housing reform, housing justice. She was a Democratic Socialist. She was part of like the wave of Democrats being elected in New York. They took the Senate majority, they had the assembly, and then they had the governorship. And this was an opportunity to pass a lot of legislation, including the much needed housing reform. And this is an issue that's being fought nationally. We know rents are going up at ridiculous levels. Many states don't have any protections for renters. But New York, in some ways, has some in some instances. So this was kind of an opportunity to cement that and kind of expand things and make things a bit more equitable and fair and safe for people, and to keep them in their housing. And it's an interesting graphic novel, because that you get to see the difficulty of I'll call the Aaron Sorkin world of politics, the fantasy that we believe exists due to things like The West Wing, which personally I think did the massive amount of damage to the political space, versus the reality of it, of how things actually work. The cesspool of it, the corruption of it, the backdoor nature of it, the fact that you need to negotiate, that you can't get everything that you want, and you got to watch what you say. You got to be cordial. And I think it's a really interesting read because of that. Like, it really takes you through all of that, the ups and downs of this staff, of this state senator. You get to see them get tired. You get to see them explode. You get to see them lose it with each other, or even at elected officials. I mean, it's really, really interesting. And honestly, like, it's a lot of my experience. I started off in politics in Buffalo, worked at the county legislature for a little while, Went on and worked on the Hill for a while, worked on campaigns at every single level. Believe me, a lot of people that you actually would know. It's it's been an interesting journey for me, and I think this really it does a really solid job of capturing what that experience is like if you have never done it yourself. I'm not an expert on the New York city politics of that. I'm not an expert in the housing aspect of it. So that, I just got to have to chalk up and be like, okay, it's accurate. Like, I can't really comment on that. But the staff experience, that I can comment on. And to me, it hits home. It is a life I've lived. It's a life that I kind of leaving behind, but at the same time, I miss it. There's nothing quite like it, and it's hard to describe, but there's nothing quite like working campaigns or working in a legislative office. There's so much more I would love for it to have gone in detail on, but I think it touches on things so fantastic, and a thing that I actually really like also is that it's about the highs and the lows and the roller coaster of it all. But Sophia Warren goes into a solid amount of detail of like what really goes on in these offices. Like I was waiting for, as they're like introducing staffers, I was like, okay, so where's the constituent service person? And they introduce the constituent service person, and they talk at one point about like why that feels good, and like I remember my job and taking constituent calls. And many of them were heartbreaking, and like you want to do stuff and you can't help everybody, and it's an emotional ride. Like it's hard to just describe, and for people who are lifers on this, like it's bless them basically. Like it's not an easy thing to do. Taking even now the all the other bullshit that needs to go on now, the threats and just people kind of blowing up, like it's more difficult. And I mean, I was talking earlier about this, like I received threats probably daily in one of my previous jobs, and you know what, and like you just get used to it, and it's part of the job. And like there's like a scene where protesters invade an office, and I've kind of been around that sort of thing. And it really captures a lot of the experience, and just shows a lot of how a lot of this is so universal. I never worked at the state government level. That's the one thing I never did. Pretty much everything else I did. But the state government level and then the national level, it really was not much difference between the two, and I think it's kind of fascinating about it all. So I mean, it's fantastic. I think it's a really 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 good graphic novel. I really like the art style. I don't know quite how to describe it, but it's something just works and works really well with it. Like I don't quite know how to, like what the style of the art actually is, but like it gives just enough detail to like really bring things alive. I think the funniest is kind of like good. They at one point they go to Albany and they show it off, and I had and they're just like, yeah, this is Albany, and it was the same impression when the one time I've ever been to Albany, where I just walked out and was like, this is one of the ugliest cities I've ever seen in my life. Yep, I think it was Bushwick. I don't know. Whatever. I don't know if I got the area right. But yeah, I mean, this is a really, really solid graphic novel. I mean, if this is one of those. This is one of those, like, if someone asked me to list out some solid graphic novels about the experience of working in politics, like this is up there. I think it really it captures the reality of it so well. And so many different ways, and the fact that Sophia Warren is able to keep it so focused is really impressive, and create a narrative out of it. There's a through it all. You can see where it's going, and it all ties together. So Bravo. I mean, this is so far one of my favorite reads of the year. I was hoping I would enjoy this, and this actually exceeded my expectations. So, kudos, absolutely kudos. You can go get this now. It's in comic shops. We've got a link beneath this video. Put in your zip code, tell the comic shops near you. No shop, no problem. We do have some links where you can purchase your own. There'll be affiliate links, so we do get a small percentage. By doing that, you'll support our site. So thank you. And speaking of support, just watching our videos, you support us, so thank you for that. If you are into graphic novels, if you're into comics in general, check us out every single day at graphicpolicy.com. We're on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Tumblr, all at Graphic Policy, keeping it nice and consistent. Until next time, keep reading those comics, and keep it geeky. Hey, thanks for watching the previous video from Graphic Policy Television. Just by watching, you help support our site. Thank you so much. Now, if you're watching these videos, you probably care about geeky things like movies, television, comic books, toys, games, video games, you name it. You can go and subscribe right now to our YouTube channel to stay in touch and catch all the new videos, or check out our website at graphicpolicy.com. There's a nice link on this end of the video. But as always, thank you for watching. Keep on rocking and keep it geeky.